Welcome to Uncaged. Today we're speaking with Amanda Rubin. Amanda works at Enthusiast Gaming. She is their EVP of Brand Solutions. I think kind of going through all the details of Enthusiast, I'm sure I'm going to miss out at components, but they're certainly an integrated gaming entertainment company. They're building the largest media and content platform for fans to connect and engage with worldwide. We're going to be talking about gaming, digital gaming, pretty much the center of any family that has kids under the age of 40. I'd say, I
Sounds
think
about right.
everyone plays games these days. Oh man, I could tell you too many stories with my kids and games. But before we get into my personal anecdotes, let's talk about you. Amanda, tell us a little bit about you and your career.
Yeah. So I started my career in traditional digital is kind of an oxymoron, I guess, but I was going to say traditional digital media agency in search engine marketing, actually. The total opposite side of creativity. Moved into planning and buying, then quickly moved onto the publisher side in planning, account management, and then sales. So my first sales job was at Woven Digital, which doesn't exist in that form anymore, but we represented the Chive, Bro Bible, Barstool Sports. So I really tapped into that male millennial subset when millennials were the audience of interest.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, years later, I worked at EA, Electronic Arts, EA Games. So I got very immersed into the world of gaming. This was about a decade ago. Learned a lot about brand partnerships and integrations into game environments through EA's console titles and mobile titles.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little over 4 years ago, I joined Enthusiast Gaming to start up our, at the time, sales team, which is now been rebranded to Brand Solutions. And I'm sure as we get through this, I can explain why.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn more about it. I mean, I've seen the trajectory of the story for Enthusiast Gaming, and I think I met you, Amanda, and your team last summer in Cannes as you were all getting very, very intertwined with the advertising world. So tell me more about what Enthusiast Gaming is up to and what you're working on there.
Yeah, I mean, I think gaming is such a large and confusing catch-all for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
We know there are a ton of consumer eyeballs in gaming, and you said it right. It's not just kids, it's adult kids too. It's really everyone. And everyone has an excuse now to play games because games are a huge emerging media platform. We see all of the biggest publishers out there getting into gaming. You see Netflix gaming, you see Facebook rebranding to Meta, right? I mean, the world of gaming and immersive media is the future of engagement and entertainment. And so, what I find so interesting about gaming is that it's not one thing. And because of that, there is not a one size fits all, which has made gaming very complicated. So, in a lot of ways, gaming has been the Wild West. At EA, at least it was templatized in a matter of you buy in a game experience. And there were different
Mm-hmm.
ways to buy in a game experience, but buying in gaming meant being in the game. Now at Enthusiast Gaming, we do pretty much everything but in the game. So we are really the surround sound of gaming. And what's so important about gaming is the communities that gaming builds, that
Right.
real cultural cross section. And that's where Enthusiast Gaming comes in. We build the content, we have the creators, we have the scale media. Within the scale media, we have everything from news to tutorials on how to better play your game, to mods to download in the game. So it's really surrounding that entire gamer lifestyle, which is very exciting, but it's also somewhat daunting. And it's funny, in Cannes, one of the major pieces of research we were doing was asking marketers, why would you buy with us or why would you not buy with us? And what is your view on gaming? And overall, their feel in gaming is that it's not simple and it's not easy to buy, right? Because what is gaming? Is gaming in game? Is gaming the content creators? Is gaming the content around the games? Is it the websites around the games? And so
Right.
gaming is matrixed, right? Because it's the vertical of a passion point, but it's also the horizontal of an entertainment platform. And it's two of those things at once. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you ask what I'm excited about, I love a great challenge. And so it's not basic. And so what I am on a journey to figure out is how do you templatize something very complex and make it more simple. I'm not going to say we can completely simplify it, but how do you make something that all of the marketers know is where the consumer eyeballs and attention is, easy for them to buy and measure? And I think that's what's exciting. I hope we can do it in 2024, but this could be years in the making, right? This is an entirely new way of
Yeah.
measuring.
I mean, I think it'll continue to evolve, but what you're hitting on is certainly perhaps kind of that scaled level of getting involved in gaming that needs to happen. I mean, certainly sponsoring players and all those types of things are still going to be possibilities. But, the advertising world, media buyers are looking at it like connected TV. Like, how do you make it simple for me? How do I compare it to other things I'll do? Right. That's always the lovely challenges that I had when I was a media guy back in the day. So I know what you're talking about. But I mean, Amanda, I feel like this space, has made huge headway in the recent past and it bodes well for the near future. Tell me a little bit about kind of where we stand today in the branded gaming space and what you see on the horizon.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years later, we've come a very long way, obviously. I mean, at EA, I was just trying to convince people that, it's not just kids in their parents' basement playing games. I think we all get that now. That phrase is still used a lot, and I admittedly just used it myself, right? But I think it's used to say we've come this far, and everyone knows that's not the audience. We know everyone is the audience, and we know the eyeballs are there. And so we've made a lot of headway. We've started to define different forms of game, right? So there's in-game engagement ads. There's, if you look at kind of the in-game out of home type billboards, those are now called intrinsic ads. I sit on the IAB games board where we've done a lot of research and a lot of defining of the different mechanisms of gaming and immersive forms of media. So we've made progress. We've started to define, we've started to talk about engagement and attention. We've started to move a little bit past the layers of straight digital media. We've integrated social, but there's still a lot more, I think, as we dive into the world of Web3 and the metaverse, because that's really where gaming and the world of immersive media, the landscape starts to take shape. And that is a new frontier entirely, right? So as we begin to define gaming, and there are some ways it's easy, and we can say, okay, buying an mobile incentivized ad in gaming is pretty simple, and buying an in-game intrinsic ad is somewhat simple. What's not simple is how to buy all of those in one, quantify and qualify that journey at once, from the in-game experience to the around game experience to the creator talking about the experience to the content that's created around the experience and the full cycle that exists. And I think that's where we're getting there, but we're trying to prove that gaming is not just this innovative awareness upper funnel play, but we are full funnel. There are major sales and results that take place because of gaming at a lower level too, but it's harder to measure that right now just based on the overall way that we look at gaming. And so we're trying to figure out, how do you combine all these matrix pieces and all these elements of the funnel together? And I think what's really cool about gaming in terms of the progress we have made is that all of my fellow partners in gaming and all of the other gaming companies and gaming entertainment companies, we're all in this together. And we all know
Right.
this is a joint challenge. And so the gaming industry within media, the niche of gaming media, is pretty small and pretty mighty. Everybody's got a lot of grit and a lot of pounding the pavement to still be putting up with this and trying to still convince marketers of the story that we know to be true.
Yeah.
And it's something we say at Enthusiast Gaming, but we are selling diamonds for the price of coal right now. And I think a lot of our gaming partners feel the same, because there is so much value in what we do. There's so much engagement in what we do, but our CPMs are not at the level of our linear counterparts and our streaming counterparts. And we have to get to the proof points to deserve that, even though we know we should be there.
Well, I mean, I remember one of those kind of basement moments with my ex-wife and our sons as they were playing, I think one of the video games, one of the kind of massive multiplayer online games, and she had had enough and she smashed the game console on the floor and demanded we all go out to dinner. And I remember as we walked into the restaurant, we passed one of my son's friends who was in line. He goes, "Nico, what happened? Where were you?" And then we passed another one, and he was said the same thing in the same restaurant. "Hey, are you going to be able to get on later?" It became very clear to me that, the perception as a parent that our children were isolated was totally incorrect. They had essentially created these incredible worlds where they were hyper connected with their friends, And it did
Hyper
seem like a
connected.
wonderful way for brands to involve themselves in that community, for better or for worse. But I remember that so clearly, of that kind of virtual and real world moments as we were, all trying to navigate those things. But I mean, Amanda, you work in this space. It clearly is an area I would say is emerged and is emerging, right? And I really feel that enthusiasts, you and obviously Nick Bryan are taking leadership roles in kind of crafting that scaled story. But where does your passion come from for this space?
It's funny. I never thought I'd end up in gaming. I always wanted to be Mel Gibson in What Women Want when I was a little
Ah,
kid. So I always wanted to be an ad executive. I loved the idea of creativity and strategy kind of coming together in a psychology consumer basis of marketing. So that was my end goal, to do something that was creative and strategic. Within gaming, I didn't know that was kind of the thread, right? And I'm a millennial. I did grow up playing games. For me, games were not the connected experience of your children, right? Like they were not in a connected ecosystem yet. And that was a miss, right? But I will say the other big myth, because you mentioned one of them, which is that gaming is not social, which today gaming is very social.
so
But the other
social.
big one,
Yeah,
like super social, is the main form of socialization with Gen Z. But the other big myth of gaming is that gaming rots your brain, right? It's just like TV of the past. Television rots your brain, your eyes get bad, right? Television maybe does rot your brain, or maybe doom scrolling, through social media, but gaming builds strategy, it builds
I
critical
agree.
thinking, it builds
I
problem
agree.
solving.
I agree. I agree so much, Amanda. But I will tell you that I have lost many a dinner party debate on this very point, with other parents. I just generally feel that parents always struggle with this idea that gaming or any type of kind of activity that they don't fully understand must be bad. It must not be good. It's been proven out now, right? I mean, there's been so many studies that have shown that gaming actually plays a key role in understanding how to solve problems and leading people into STEM careers as well. So there you go.
Truly. I mean, I think I learned how to like logical reasoning growing up from playing the logical journey of the Zoombinis on my PC. I loved that game. I played all of these logic games. I loved Matrix Logic. Like it's how I got into it. So I think there is proof there. And I also think there's a lot of hatred against fear, right? Like when you don't know
Mhm.
something and you fear it, you just don't like it, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I won't say, I would not take that as far as where we are with marketers and brands, but that there's a level of, I won't even say lack of education, but lack of understanding, right? Because the education is there. We're out there, we're educating, we're explaining, but it's not so easy to tell somebody something and then them get it and live it and breathe it. And so there's still a lot of informing brands and marketers why gaming is so big, even though the consumers are all there,
Mhm.
and understanding how it resonates. But so for me, how did I end up in gaming, right? So I worked at a male millennial property, and EA came knocking on my door and they said, male millennials, we have FIFA, we
Yeah.
have Madden, we have NHL. You want to come over and join our brand partnership team? And I played The Sims so much growing up. I always loved EA. I said, how cool is this? And it's funny, at the time, I don't think in my 20s I would have considered myself a gamer. And granted, when I look back, I played a lot of games. I always had games downloaded on my phone. I always loved games. When people reference games, I can remember the ones I played. But I didn't think I was a gamer. And then I joined EA and I kind of went on this, pioneering journey to explain to people that they were gamers. But I got really into it. I was like, because this offered an opportunity to do creative advertising and strategy in a totally different forum. And at
Yeah.
EA, I loved EA, but I will say it was still kind of limited, right? Because what you could do was in the game and in the game only. And I mean, unless you were Coca-Cola, you weren't getting into FIFA. And if you weren't Verizon or somebody major, you weren't getting into Madden if you weren't an NFL official marketing partner. So there
Yeah.
was fun, but there was also
And you
limit.
need to have like a 2-year period to map out the
Exactly. Of the
deal. Yeah.
integration and how to get
Yeah.
in. Right. So I came to Enthusiast Gaming, and this is where I really formed my love for really never leaving the gaming space and the culture and the community that surrounds it, because the sky is the limit as far as what you can do in these new immersive environments, how you can lean into our kind of model at Enthusiast Gaming is content plus talent plus scale. We do it over and over and over again. We create something unique from a content standpoint. We make sure we amplify it through creators. We use the right creators, the right messaging, the right organic channels, and then we seed it all in scale across all of our different scale properties. And so for us, that really surrounds that gamer lifestyle. But I find it so fun because we get to be so creative, but we have all these challenges to solve. I think if I was at a job where it was a basic templatized offering, I'd get pretty bored pretty quickly. But
Yeah.
here, and this is why we are the Brand Solutions org. You know, Nick joined our company a little over 6 months ago now, and he said, "No, you're not sales, you're Brand Solutions." And I love
Hmm.
that because you know what? We weren't selling anything. We weren't showing up and saying, "Here's our product." We don't really have a product. We have all of these things. We
Yeah.
go into a brand and we say, "What are you trying to solve?" And as you said before, we are very similar to a lot of the forefather programs and advertising formats of the past, right? At the end of the day, we're selling audiences. And so if
Hmm.
you have a certain type of audience with a certain type of interest, we can create a solution for you of how to engage that audience at scale with the right engaging layers.
Yeah.
I think what I love most about gaming is that gaming is the first form of advertising, in my opinion, that is a true two-way dialogue. So we're not talking at somebody, we're not just sending them a message, but we're respectful and we're relevant. And we
Yeah.
think about how what we share makes sense for their experience. And gamers are very vocal, as everyone knows. So if they don't like it, you find out about it,
Yeah.
which quite
You'll know.
honestly is a
You'll know.
great form of market research for brands, right? You get out there on a Twitch stream and you see what the chat has to say, and you know really quickly if people like what you're pushing out there or not. So
Exactly.
there's just so much in gaming, and it's limitless, and that's what I'm loving about it.
Amanda, it's a really interesting time for the brand gaming space. Tell me a little bit about what you see in the near future. And I guess kind of a follow-on question is, what does kind of winning in this space look like for you guys? I mean, what would be a successful 2024 for you?
It's funny. I mean, winning can be so many different things. And I think it's a big question in gaming right now, which is there aren't a lot of players that are doing all of it, right? So for Enthusiast Gaming, we're surrounding the game experience. And I think there's confusion in that because then the first thing anybody asks me when I say I work at Enthusiast Gaming is what games do you make? And it's kind of pulling back from that. But winning for me is defining and templatizing something difficult, but making it easy to buy, right? And
Hmm.
so because what we have is not easy. It's not just this game solution. So I think for us, and it's twofold really, right? Because when I said winning can be two things. One is
Hmm.
I can come out of Cannes this year and we can win a Cannes Lion for doing something super unique and innovative and awesome. And that's the pie in the sky great thing. But bespoke custom programs over and over again aren't winning. They're cool, right? Like I think winning is having that templatized content, talent, scale offering that we know works, that we've
Right.
created real success metrics around, that we can measure and we can prove, and we can get out there and start getting brand comfort in it. And I know a marketer had shared this recently with us, but they said, you know, now they're not looking to buy scale, they're looking to buy influence. And what does influence mean? Because it's not necessarily the number, right? We see it a lot with the rise of the micro influencer. You can have 5 million followers or 5,000, but the 5 million follower influencer might not get anybody to buy something because they're so big. Whereas that 5,000 follower micro influencer has such a dedicated audience. And so how are we driving that influence? How are we using the engaging form and channel of gaming to really create that additive experience for a brand and a consumer where it's just doing something advertising hasn't done yet. It's beyond that affinity and that intent to purchase, but it's a love and a desire to connect with a brand at a deeper level because they can have that dialogue.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys are doing all of the right steps in getting there. I'm excited to see how 2024 plays out for you and the Enthusiast team. Amanda, if someone wanted to learn more about what you and the team are working on, where's the best place to reach you?
At my email, probably. A Rubin at eglx.com. We are very reachable. Um, yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
I'm
Well,
not going to go
Amanda,
give out the emails of everybody else on my team because they might kill me. So I'll start with me first.
sure. No, makes complete sense. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for being on the Uncaged show today. We've been speaking with Amanda Rubin. She is the EVP for Brand Solutions at Enthusiast Gaming. We've been talking about really the solutions that they're bringing to the marketplace for brands, how to get brands woven in an integrated way to the gaming media environment and the experience. And I mean, anyone who has lived or experienced as a parent or as a first-time player knows that gaming is a huge part of people's lives at this point. And it's really a misunderstood space. And I think, Amanda, you and the team are onto something big here, and we're excited to see how things evolve. So thank you so much for being on the show today, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you for having me.